Hey, what's good, Roughnecks fans, and welcome back to the Roughnecks Analyst Podcast. I'm your host, Colin Watkins, and in today's video, I will be predicting all 8 starting quarterbacks for the XFL, technically week 1, because if there's one thing we know about these spring football leagues, it's that, the 10 weeks or so that they're going on, usually there's not one quarterback playing all 10 weeks like there is in the NFL sometimes. A lot of these quarterbacks will bounce in and out as the coaches are trying, new schemes, new players, all that. But this is purely for week 1, not week 2, not next season, only for week 1. So this very well might change, or this list very well might be completely wrong, but hey, that's the fun of it, right? That's the whole fun of it. So, every single person I mentioned in this list today, in a few weeks, their lives may change. Not only their careers, but their lives may change. So hopefully you enjoy this video as I go through all 8 quarterbacks who I think are going to start. This isn't just a Roughnecks video, even though I will be covering the Roughnecks heavily on this. This is for all 8 teams, baby. So, I guess a perfect segue. If you love the Roughnecks, if you love the XFL, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'm telling y'all, I'll be doing pre-game shows. I'll be doing post-game analysis, betting tips, analysis on other stuff, but of course, mostly Roughnecks. But if you want a simple, easy-to-follow channel, if you're just getting into the XFL, if you know nothing about it, this is literally the place for you to be. I try my hardest on this channel to make things as easy to swallow for y'all, so, make sure you subscribe to the channel before the season starts very soon. But let's get straight into the video. Starting off, we have, for the Arlington Renegades, I am predicting Kyle Sloter to start week 1 for the Renegades. Of course, they have their opening game against the Vegas Vipers on February 18th, the very first game of the XFL season. This one was already a tough one, when I was trying to see who would be starting for the Renegades. Because the Renegades, they have some dogs on their roster in their quarterback room. They do. They have like Kevin Anderson, Drew Plitt, and of course Kyle Sloter. But I just think Kyle Sloter has the edge on all of those guys. Anderson is a little too young. Plitt I really like, but Sloter, he has the experience that I think Coach Stoops is going to really like. So Kyle Sloter, he went to college at Northern Colorado, and he started off as like a wide receiver, tight end, special teams guy, but then slowly he moved up to starting quarterback, and he threw like 7 touchdowns in one of his college games. He then, I believe he went undrafted. He hopped around multiple NFL teams, sort of becoming a preseason legend, you may call it. Some of y'all may even remember him. I think he's really known for his Broncos run, preseason run, or whatever, but he never got regular season playing time, all right? So then what happens? He gets drafted into the USFL in 2022, where he would be the starting quarterback for the New Orleans Breakers. Of course, if you follow the USFL or followed the USFL, the Breakers are pretty nice, all right? And Kyle Sloter, early on, I guess like first half of the season, he was elite. But he had some injuries as the season went on, and he really started to struggle. He really started to struggle. His final stat line in the nine games he did play with the Breakers in the USFL, 1,798 passing yards, 9 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. Not the best. He did not start off that way. So why do I think he's going to start? My final say, why do I think Kyle Sloter will be the starting quarterback for the Arlington Renegades come week 1? Spring football experience. He literally just played in a spring football league. Guys he played against he's going to be playing a lot of times against the same guys he played against with the USFL and the Breakers. And he was an all-USFL team member. He was a 2-time Player of the Week performer before he got injured, all right? So clearly Kyle Sloter, when he is not injured, not struggling with physical injuries, he is a very good quarterback. So for that reason, I believe Sloter, he's healthy. He is going to get the start week 1 for the Arlington Renegades. It was between Sloter or Plitt. I think Sloter has the upper edge because of his experience. So Arlington Renegades, Kyle Sloter. I'd be really surprised if he wasn't starting week 1, actually. I feel fairly confident on that. Number 2 are our second team. This isn't a rankings list, but we're going to do it. The Houston Roughnecks. Whew. This is a hot topic of debate for all Roughnecks fans right now. Even if you're just an XFL fan, this quarterback room is going to be real tough. I actually talked to wide receivers coach, Coach Party, our wide receivers coach, and he said that, like, literally, all three of our quarterbacks, Caleb Ellaby, Cole McDonald, and Brandon Silvers, are neck and neck. Literally, they are. You know, it's reminding me a lot of the Connor Cook, PJ Walker situation in 2020. All these three guys are neck and neck. They're consistent right now. They're making the plays. So we literally probably won't find out who's starting until, I'm guessing, like the day of the first game on February 18th against the Orlando Guardians. But I had to pick someone, and I'm going to pick my guy, Brandon Silvers. Now, I know this is controversial for a lot of Roughnecks fans and XFL fans, but I am a big fan of Brandon Silvers going into this season. A lot more than I think I was anytime he was going into any other season like 2020 or, the Spring League. He went to college at Troy, of course. I have covered Brandon Silvers before, but just a quick recap, right? We love Brandon Silvers here on the channel, but college career was at Troy University. He went undrafted in the 2018 NFL Draft. Then pretty much right after that, he was in the AAF with the Memphis Express, where he threw for like 4 touchdowns and 2 interceptions in 2 games. Not too shabby. Then he went pretty much straight to be the starting quarterback for the Seattle Dragons of the XFL, the 2020 edition. In 4 games, he put up 539 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. A lot of Seattle fans did not like Brandon Silvers. He was replaced by B.J. Daniels in week 5 because he did not look right. I think that the offense he was running in was a pretty tough offense for him, especially for such a young guy. And so after the XFL got cut short in 2020, Silvers in 2021 went to play for the Conquerors in the 2021 edition of the Spring League, which was a sort of precursor to the now USFL. I feel like only diehard spring football fans know about the Spring League, but it was a fun thing to watch. I watched all the games, so I knew what Brandon Silvers was capable of, and he put up great numbers on the Conquerors. So he was under Coach A.J. Smith's offense, which is now he's running the same offense. It's the same offense he's running as he was with the Conquerors. So that's putting my hopes up, all right? But on the Conquerors, he put up 685 passing yards, 9 touchdowns, and 1 interception. 9-1 touchdown interception ratio under Coach A.J. Smith. And that's the last time we saw him play professional spring football. That's the last time. I think he had a quick stint with the Jets, like on the practice squad, but that's it. So, sure, he could have gotten rustier, worse, but I think he has gotten even better than the 2021. I'm telling y'all, the Brandon Silvers we see in 2023 is going to be a different Brandon Silvers than we've seen in 2020, 2019, and 2021. It's going to be a different player. He's going to look a lot more elite than we're used to. Count my words, folks. Come back to this video if I'm totally wrong, but I have a really good feeling about Brandon Silvers. So why do I think he's going to start over Cole McDonald and Caleb Ellaby, 2 other guys who I'd be fine starting? Again, he's improved so much, and he's worked under this offense before too. His 2021 stats were awesome. He has worked with, I believe it was Jim Zorn in the 2020 Seattle Dragons offense. He has been around, and now I understand Cole McDonald, he's had NFL experience, but I don't know. I feel like for week 1, it would be best to start Brandon Silvers. If he does bad, then go to Cole McDonald. Caleb Ellaby, a little too inexperienced, in my opinion, to start above Cole McDonald or Brandon Silvers. But keep an eye on Caleb Ellaby. But I think Brandon Silvers should start week 1 because I feel like he's the most fit for football as of right now, given he's been playing a lot. Now, I understand Cole McDonald has too. I know a lot of Cole McDonald fans are watching this video, and I'm okay with that. I love Cole McDonald. But I think week 1, the safest bet would be to be Brandon Silvers. All right, so that's my prediction for the Houston Roughnecks. Brandon Silvers, week 1. I have a pretty solid, feeling that he's going to start too. But again, like Coach Party said, we don't know. We have no idea. So, and that's Peyton Party, by the way. For the Orlando Guardians, this was also another really close one, but I have DeAndre Francois, again for the Orlando Guardians, the Roughnecks Week 1 opponent. So DeAndre Francois, of course, Florida State quarterback. He lit up Florida State, but had some issues off the field. Then he went to Hampton, and he played for Hampton College. And right after college, he went into the Fan-Controlled Football League, FCF. He actually was really good. He was in the Fan-Controlled Football League 2 separate times, and in both times, he was really phenomenal, all right? I didn't watch the FCF, but I've, researching, and I've heard good things about DeAndre Francois, too. But I remember watching him when he was the starting quarterback for the Blues in the Spring League, the same league that Brandon Silvers played in. I remember watching him for the Blues, and I was actually a pretty big fan of him. I liked he was able to get on his horse, use his feet, and his arm was pretty good. He had a pretty good arm, too. I just think he needs to get more consistent and more accurate. If he does, he's going to look really good. If he can get back to his Florida State self, the Guardians are going to be really, really happy. So why do I think he's going to start? I think he has a bigger upside than the other player, the other quarterback who I think would start on the Guardians, Quentin Dormady. Dormady is a pocket passer, all right? He's a great pocket passer. I actually predicted Dormady at the very beginning to play for the Guardians first. But then I'm like, Francois, I've heard good stuff about him from people. I think he's going to start. He's played in the Spring League. He's capable of doing well. I think he played under like Ted Cottrell or something. He was also he was the offensive coordinator for the Roughnecks in 2020. I don't remember. But yeah, DeAndre Francois, I actually really like him, but could it go to Quentin Dormady? Absolutely it could. It would not surprise me one bit if Quentin gets to start Week 1, but I think both of those guys will get playing time eventually, but I'd like to see DeAndre Francois get playing time first in Week 1 against the Roughnecks. I'd like to see what he's going to do. Has he improved since 2021? Because I think he has a bigger upside than Dormady, but is he going to be able to capitalize on it? So, DeAndre Francois for the Orlando Guardians Week 1. Next, for the San Antonio Brahmas, I have Reid Sinnett. I think it's Sinnett. The Brahmas, I don't want to hate on them. I think their quarterback room, I'm not the biggest fan of it because I haven't heard of a lot of the players. And that may just be my bias. I'm not saying that the Brahmas have a bad quarterback room. I'm just saying I don't recognize, I think, anyone on their quarterback roster. You have Jack Cohen from Notre Dame. I recognize him a little bit. Juwan Pass and then Reid Sinnett. I think Reid is going to be the best choice just in general. He played college at San Diego. He went undrafted in 2020. I understand 2020 was a weird year. He's hopped around 3 different NFL teams since 2020. He was actually activated on the active roster for the Miami Dolphins a few times, actually. So why does he start? Simple. I think he's the most experienced guy in their quarterback room. You have Jack Cohen and Juwan Pass. They don't have NFL experience like Reid has. Reid, he's been around with 3 different NFL teams. He's clearly talented enough to even be thought about going on that active roster. So I think for that reason, I would love to see Reid Sinnett start. I honestly think he is. I'd be really surprised if Jack Cohen from Notre Dame, if he starts a little more inexperienced. And Juwan Pass, too, I think he has a huge upside, but also inexperienced. So I think for the Brahmas, for San Antonio, the best bet would to be go with Reid Sinnett here because he has NFL experience, and he was really good at San Diego, too. So I'm curious how he'd be. I'm curious how the Brahmas team is going to be. I think that's going to be an interesting team to watch. So Reid Sinnett for the Brahmas, I feel like that's a pretty no-brainer one. I didn't think too hard about that one just based on what I've been seeing and hearing. For the Seattle Sea Dragons, of course, we got Ben DiNucci. He had a college career. He had his college career at Pittsburgh and then at James Madison. There was a meme about him going around in 2020 after I think he started a game for the Cowboys after Dak Prescott got injured. Drafted 7th round in the 2020 draft. And, he has NFL experience. All right. He started a game. I think him and A.J. McCarron are the only 2 quarterbacks in this league who have started a regular season NFL game. Sure, was it good? Did he do a good job? Absolutely not. His stats were horrendous. But he was still capable enough, sort of like Reed Sinnett. He was still capable, of being even a thought to start. So I think that takes talent to even be on an NFL roster. And, if you look at his highlights, DiNucci's highlights, he's not going to catch your eye. I know I'm watching his highlights like right now. I'm in the process of watching his highlights in my free time. Not really catching my eye, but if he can be consistent, okay. If he gets the job done, then very well, that's good. But I do have to say, though, a lot of people think that this Ben DiNucci start is going to be a no-brainer, but Steven Montez, he's going to be a close favorite to start. I actually think I wouldn't be surprised if Steven Montez takes over the starting job less than halfway into the season. I really like Montez. I think him and Cole McDonald are along the same lines. They were like same situation in their draft classes. They were overlooked, but I think they have talent. So Steven Montez, be on the lookout for him. He's also NFL ready. He was just on the Lions practice squad. So Ben DiNucci, he has some big competition behind him in the form of Steven Montez. But DiNucci, he should start. I know they've been pushing him a lot on social media, so he'll probably get the start week 1, but I don't know how long that's going to last. Second to last team, we have the St. Louis Battlehawks with A.J. McCarron, and once again, this is pretty much a no-brainer. A.J. McCarron, of course, the back-to-back BCS national champion with Alabama back in his college career. He was a 5th-round pick by the Cincinnati Bengals in 2014, and he's hopped around 4 different NFL teams, including my Houston Texans. His stats in not a 4-year career. Maybe 7-year career in the NFL, I believe. 1,173 passing yards, 6 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Not too bad. He just really hasn't gotten a shot. I think a lot of people in the 2014 draft were expecting him to go higher. And the next thing you know, 5th-round pick by the Cincinnati Bengals. Not much you can really do with that one. So I'm actually really excited for A.J. McCarron. You have Ryan Willis on the roster. I'm a big fan of Ryan Willis. Ryan Willis, quarterback from Virginia Tech. He played in the 2021 Spring League. He was actually the MVP of the 2021 Spring League with the linemen and Hal Mummy. But A.J. McCarron, you can't beat that NFL experience. You can't beat his championships at Alabama. I think McCarron, he's going to really impress too. Because, again, he started some games for the Texans. I believe for the Texans. But he's had a lot of NFL experience, more than Ben DiNucci. He's the most NFL experienced quarterback in the XFL right now. So it's really a no-brainer. Again, Ryan Willis, he's going to be more of a project. But I think Ryan Willis is capable of starting. But A.J. McCarron, the absolute no-brainer to start week 1 for the St. Louis Battlehawks. Call me crazy if he does not. All right, I owe people, everyone who watches this video, I owe you $1 if A.J. McCarron does not start for the St. Louis Battlehawks when they play the Brahmas week 1. And then finally, the most interesting case that we have in the league when it comes to who's starting. The Las Vegas Vipers, I have my good friend and buddy Brian Scott starting week 1. College career at, I don't know how to say this name, Occidental College. Scott has played with the CFL for the BC Lions and the Edmonton Eskimos. He's a Spring League legend, 2-time Spring League MVP in 2018 and 2020. Then he was drafted 3rd overall in the USFL draft for the Philadelphia Stars, where he was tearing the league up, but then he had to leave because of injuries to his knee and ankle, but he's back. He is back. And let me tell you all the stats of when he's healthy. In 3 games in the USFL, he threw for 558 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. He was a solid quarterback. He was well on his way to be an all-USFL quarterback, but injury bug got to him, which, nothing you can do about. It's not his fault. So why does he start? Well, to sort of have more context on why I'm saying the Las Vegas Vipers have the most interesting quarterback room in the league, you got to look who's in this quarterback room. Yeah, Brian Scott, a spring football legend. He's like a cult legend in the spring football community. You have him, which is good enough already. Jalen McClendon from Baylor, he's not going to start, all right? But then you have Luis Perez from Texas A&M Commerce. Luis Perez. Now, Luis Perez, for those who don't know, he, in my opinion, is the most consistent spring football quarterback since the 2000s. Like 2000s on, Luis Perez is literally the most consistent quarterback you can have. He's being called the Alex Smith of the spring football scene. He's consistent. He puts up touchdowns. Sure, he'll have an interception here and there. He's not going to wow you. He's not a PJ Walker, but he's not an Aaron Murray either. He is a good quarterback. We saw it with the Jousters in 2021. We saw it in the 2020 XFL with the New York Guardians. He was actually, fun fact, the only quarterback to perform well and successfully in a pro-style offense in the XFL. So yeah, Brian Scott and Luis Perez, it's going to be, for Ron Woodson, Coach Ron Woodson for the Wildcats, good luck. All right, good luck trying to decide who's going to be your starting quarterback, because both of these guys literally, let's say Brian Scott's on the Vipers and Luis Perez is on, the Roughnecks or any other team, both of them are going to be top quarterbacks in the league. No joke. All right, if I was a team who needed a quarterback, I'm sort of thinking, teams like the Brahmas, possibly, the Guardians. I'd be looking to trade for whoever doesn't start for the Vipers. Whether it be Brian Scott or Luis Perez, you need to get them on your team. If you need a quarterback, get one of those guys, get the guy who is not starting, and trade anything you need for him. I'm telling you. But I think Brian Scott, he's impressed me more over the time I've been watching him, both in the Spring League and the USFL. Sure, Luis Perez is really consistent. I think Brian Scott is going to put bigger and better numbers on the board, and he's going to lead the team better. I'm a big fan of Brian Scott. I've been in contact with him, talking to him ever since 2020 when it was the 2020 Spring League. So I know him. I know he's a great guy. He's a great leader. He's passionate. I hope this is the chance for him to really show himself to the football community, because, boy, is he overlooked. He is overlooked, and injuries and COVID have, made him struggle in showing himself to the football world. But hopefully no more, setbacks this season. I'm expecting Brian Scott to tear down the league. And actually, one more quick thing. I accidentally skipped it. I got ahead of myself when I was talking about the Roughnecks. We actually have one more team, and real quick, a pretty easy team to cover, actually. The DC Defenders, we have Jordan Ta'amu. Really a no-brainer here. The DC Defenders in the quarterback room, they have Jordan Ta'amu, Derek King, and Eric Dungy. And sure, those names all sound good, but Jordan Ta'amu, my bad, is really the absolute no-brainer here, all right? He is a spring football legend. He has NFL experience. His college career was at Ole Miss, practice squad, NFL experience. And he sort of starred in the XFL alongside PJ Walker, of course, my favorite quarterback. So him and PJ Walker sort of led the XFL in 2020. Of course, Ta'amu was with the St. Louis Battlehawks at the time, and he looked good. He looked really good. He's young, too, which I just love. In 5 games in the XFL, he threw for 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and 1,050 yards. Really impressive. Then he played for the USFL for the Tampa Bay Bandits, where he led the league in passing yards and touchdowns. He threw 14 touchdowns, but also 12 interceptions. But keep in mind, the Bandits' O-line was god-awful. So he was pretty much running around the field the entire game. So that's where those interceptions are sort of inflated. He is still a awesome quarterback. And, you have D'Eriq King. He hasn't played in a while, so D'Eriq King's not going to start above Ta'amu. And then Eric Dungy, I've never really seen him play because he was supposed to play, I think, in the Spring League or USFL, but he got called to a NFL team. So I actually really like Eric Dungy from what I've seen of him, but he's not Ta'amu. All right, so Jordan Ta'amu, he will be starting for the DC Defenders. Mark my words, that's a pretty easy one. I'm really excited about him. He will more than likely finish top 3 quarterback as a top 3 quarterback in the league. So folks, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is a fun video to make. I really enjoyed not only researching the Roughnecks but also the other teams. This is going to be a heck of a video to edit because I want to add film and pictures for y'all. But that's what makes this podcast what it is, all right? This isn't just watching me talk. This is watching film and highlights and seeing pictures to actively interact with y'all in this video, all right? I know it's probably boring to see me talk for probably close to 20, 25 minutes now, but, folks, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you're excited about the XFL. If you want to share this video with someone, go right ahead. You want to share it with your husband, wife, brother, sister, son, daughter, share it, share it, share it. We're going to get excited for the XFL season in this 2023 rendition. Now, folks, thank you so much for watching. Comment down below your thoughts and opinions on this video. And as always, and most importantly, go Roughnecks, baby. I'll see y'all on the next podcast.